Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Waffling On. I'm back in the Waffle Shed today, waffling on my own, and I'm actually waffling on tap as I look back on United Wrestling's Summer on Tap from the Tap Social in North Hicksy back in August. Before we look at the card itself, I've got an admission to make. I've actually got a mic that I like at United. Sadly not Smashing Mic on this occasion.
Don't listen to the Wrestling Outsiders.
And definitely not that one. No, I'm talking about Stubby Mike. Ready by the door to welcome everyone into the Tap Social is this little fella. And I might even think this guy's cute. Not the last Stubby I think we're going to see at United. I've heard rumours more on the way, so watch this space and watch the United Socials. You never know who might turn up. Right, let's crack on. Now, we know what the first match normally means at a United show, especially if it's at the Tap Social. This guy. But not on this occasion. We had a real treat, not just because it wasn't memes or Tom or Blue Payne who was coming out, but rather we had the debut of Freyja Catch at United. Extra special for all the United fans was that Freyja Catch, or the mother of Freyja Catch, should I say, is Kira Chimera herself, one half of one of the most popular and dominant tag teams in United Wrestling history, with Scotty Rawk. The dog's bollocks! Kira brought with her Cory Zero and JGU, who put on an absolute belter of a match to open the show. It was high-flying and brutal, and if this is any indication of what the rest of the Freyja Catch action is like, you should really go and check it out if you're in the area. Their next show, Oathbreaker, is on the 27th of September, or 27 Septembre, apologies for that, at the Wren City Hall. So if anyone is passing by, which you may or may not be, check it out. There are more shows on the way, and the card they have lined up is spectacular. Not only are JGU and Cory Zero on that as well, we've got Lucia Lee, Alice Inc., familiar to fans of United Wrestling from KNR, but also other international stars like Sue Young, the Undead Bride, will be making an appearance. So it's well worth checking out. If not directly, then I'm sure it'll be up on their YouTube channel on the socials. So Freyja Catch, check out their socials, check out their shows, give them a follow. And it was great to see Kira Chimera back in the doghouse. Right, it couldn't be withheld for long, could it? He said he'd be here, and he was. Public health warning here. Well, besides the fact you've only got me today, there will be too many mentions of memes and also too many mentions of Harry Sefton in this show. And why is that? Well, we know that Tom, the disillusioned memes, is now turning up at United and putting his career on the line every week. He was attacked by the Man in Black back for glory. And since then has been calling the guy out saying he wants to put things right. He wants to earn his place on the roster, starting with revenge on that guy. So he's back in the ring, but not spouting the normal nonsense he comes out with. He's here for business. So he calls out the Man in Black, and who comes down the stairs? The aforementioned Harry Sefton. But Sefton's not ready. He's not dressed for combat. He's there for a summer's day. He claims he knows who the Man in Black is. Now, we know he's had some association with the Man in Black, and maybe not in too friendly a way. But his warning is get out, go home, or get hurt. By me. Impromptu match. It's Tom versus Harry Sefton by the looks of it. But the third player in this particular story has always been lurking in the background. And when the bout seems to shift away from Sefton, out comes the Man in Black to the rescue. He saves Sefton, then sets about Tom, and reveals himself to be none other than Rex Armstrong. Now, long-time United fans will know that Rex Armstrong and Harry Sefton have history together, being tag team partners from way, way, way back. It didn't end so well, though, because I think it was day 10 double figures when Sefton turned on Armstrong after they lost a tag team bout against the Odyssey. I'll check that one out. So it's a bit of a surprise that these guys are seeing eye to eye. Now, the masked man, or rather I should say Rex Armstrong, has been in and out of the United ring more often than you'd think. He beat up Santa at Seasons Beatings back at the end of 2023. He even set about Josh Spicer saving Harry Sefton from losing the belt back to the noughties. And now here he is back in the ring again with Sefton by his side. Now, the reason he's so unhappy, he says, is that United now has these pillars who are completely ignoring the foundation of United. The young guys on whose blood, sweat, tears and backs this company was built. He doesn't want all this nonsense. He's back to where it should be about real wrestlers. The guys who were fighting in concrete rings. Don't remember that one. But the final message really is that Armstrong and Sefton are here to break all of our favourite toys. The downside being as well of this is that Tom gets the win. Back on winning ways. He's drifting closer to the top 6. And also, he's not making good on his promise that he's going to bugger off. So it's less, sorry you're leaving, Tom, and more at this stage, sorry you're not leaving. To his credit, Tom says, I'm going to come back, I am going to earn my spot, and every match my career's on the line. So, plenty more use for this sign in the future, I think. Rounding off the first half, we have tag team action. And more importantly than just a tag team match, this is the #1 contenders match for the United Tag Team Championship belts. Those being held currently by the Row Bros, who are at ringside to see what goes on here. So who do we have? We have on one side the recently deposed tag team champions, the Killers, in the form of Tony Kyle and Josh Holly, going up against one of the most spectacular teams in Brit Wrestling at the moment. It's the indie wrestler Jack Knudsen and the Sweet Prince Benjamin Harland. Act 2! Now, slightly worried about this. I have issues and history with both teams in terms of them not particularly being fond of me, whilst I'm not particularly fond of them. Now, the Absolute Maverick and the Modern Classic have never been particularly keen on the fans. And I think I may have fractured a friendship with Act 2 previously with comments that I made. But today is a different day. I'm approached by the indie wrestler before, and he offers the hand, and I am really worried that he's going to pull it back and make me look a fool, just like he always does. But no, a firm handshake is there, and it's not difficult for me to pick sides in this one. Act 2 all the way. This is as spectacular as you would expect if you've seen these guys wrestle before. And if you haven't, get to a show where they're on and see them. I'm talking about Act 2, by the way. Forget the Killers. Well, maybe I'm not. We'll get to that. A highlight for me was when Act 2 offered Tony to make a wish and then basically cracked his pelvis. The big story here is the fractures in the Killer camp. We know TK seems to think he's in charge of the whole thing, but I haven't seen Jay Joshua turn up to support him at any point, and Sapphire Reed's left him in the lurch more times than I can count. But now he's turning on the only guy who he's got left by his side. I just don't think Josh Holly's got it in his heart to be a killer anymore. He had plenty of opportunities to really do damage to the guys in Act 2, but in the end, he was there shaking their hands again. Not before TK several times has blundered into him and caused damage to his own team and reputation. So we have Act 2 as the #1 contenders. They come out on top and will be going on to face the Row Bros in the very near future. But what of the Killers? TK confronts Josh Holly and basically says, do not forget who's in charge, but then slaps and gives a nutshot to his supposed teammate. I think it's pretty much done. The guy's called a Maverick, so why would you trust him in the first place? And before he can do any more damage to Josh Holly, the Row Bros jump into the ring and put Mavis straight. It's handshakes and hugs. I'm thinking it's about time Josh Holly looked elsewhere for a friend. Not Harry Sefton though, Josh. You can do better than that. Right, it's time for another trip on the Phantomweight merry-go-round. Coming into this one, we have Ollie Jackson as the champ. Now remember, Ollie Jackson is one of the United Six, the 6 guys who won the Back for Glory Rumble. I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me still, but these are 6 great guys to have on the roster. We've got Ollie Jackson, we've got Freddie Idol, Nero Toxxin, Payne, MJ Grayson, and Chris Angel. Back at Hold My Beer, a lot of these guys turned up in the ring to try and take the Phantomweight title from incumbent at the time, Josh Spicer. None of them turned out to get the victory that day, as friend of the podcast Razor took the victory, ending the Edge Runners' reign as the Phantomweight champions since he defeated one Harry Sefton way back. See, I told you he'd turn up all the time in this one. But back at Whiskey Business, Razor continued the Razor's Edge stipulation, again putting the Phantomweight belt up to any challengers who turned up. And on that occasion, Ollie Jackson came out on top, dethroning Razor with Chris Angel and Nero Toxxin looking on. Right, we're up to date, so who's in the ring at Summer on Tap for this one? Ollie Jackson, obviously, with the belt, but we have MJ Grayson back, and Nero Toxxin, and Freddie Idol. Grayson is the first guy out, and he's incredibly intense, skulking to the ring, and then being faced up to by a 7-year-old who needs to go to the toilet. Grayson makes the right decision and steps aside. Then the breaker of backs comes in, along with the jaw rocker, before the absolute firecracker and ball of energy that is the current champ, Ollie Jackson, takes to the ring. The match is exactly what you'd expect. There's a real clash of styles. There are big guns in there. There are high flyers. There are people trying to find friends the whole time and then stabbing people in the back. Now, regular listeners will know that Freddie Idol normally has an entourage travelling around with him in the shape of Liam McCarthy and Tig, but they've not turned up today, so he's looking for an alliance elsewhere. It's funny, this whole show's about friendship, right? Should mention there's someone else in the ring, in a very, very crowded ring, in the shape of Josh the ref. He's trying to keep control, much as he always does, but is mainly keeping out of the way. Wise choice. And despite everyone else's best efforts, it's MJ Grayson, the icon of sin, who comes out on top on this occasion. Pinning the previous champion, Ollie Jackson, to take the win and the belt. Now, the Phantomweight belt always comes with a stipulation that the champion sets the next match. Will Grayson carry on the open challenge, letting anyone on the roster, not just the remaining 5 of the United 6, have an opportunity to take the belt? I guess we'll have to wait and see. And here we are, already on match 5. It's the absolute champion Scotty Rawk going up against the fire starter Payne. Now we're back in the doghouse and Kira's in play, but it's not Kira who is actually playing the other bollock here. Carl, the referee, is again taking up his pose at the start of the match for Scotty to slide through and give his nice smile to the crowd. Payne as well is massively over with the United crowd, but a little less so than Scotty Rawk, and I think that rankles a little bit for him. The match itself contains all the moves that you'd expect. There are holds that may not actually be conventional, as well as a slew of kicks. But still the match is progressing with reasonably friendly fire, except for one guy in the front row who seems to be out for murder.
Let's go, man.
Throughout the match, Payne does tend to get a little more pissed off than he would normally be, especially after what is quite a devastating knee slide from Scotty. And after another of the aforementioned lethal kicks that have been doing the rounds, Scotty rolls up KP for the win. But the time of celebration for another successful retention is spoiled by the arrival of the newly crowned Phantomweight champion, MJ Grayson. It seems he's not going for the usual stipulation where you're basically saying it's an open challenge. He's targeting one person and one person in particular. He has his eyes on someone who he says is not only one of the best on the roster, but one of the best on the scene. BritWres and internationally, Scotty Rawk, and he wants that absolute championship to add to the Phantomweight he's already got. Now, there's a friendly handshake, or so it seems, until MJ Grayson turns around and clouts Scotty Rawk. We mentioned her before, she's not just here to watch. Kira Chimera is here to support her bollocks. Out she comes, Stunner's the icon of sin, and we have the reunion we want. The dog's bollocks are back in the house. I'm not sure if that counts as a victory for Kira. Either way, Kira has 8 victories in the United ring since the start of her career there, which means she has more than the 7 victories of Arthur Scarrow, Tony Kyle, and Harry Sefton, which means all these posts putting those 3 in the top 6 is wrong. At least Sefton should be in the top 6. Please, United management, sort that one out and put Kira back where she belongs. Sorry, just getting ready for the main event. Now, as we know, this should have been Chris Aries versus Aluna, but for some reason, old snaky Aluna isn't bothered and hasn't turned up. So Aries puts out an open challenge. Now, this could be anyone coming out, but who do you think's going to answer the call? Who might have unfinished business with Aries? It's none other than Baggy Pants Harrison Bennett, who is out for the trilogy match at United. Now, lovers of grappling won't be disappointed by this, especially if they are at Hold My Beer or Whiskey Business in Reading, where these two faced each other. Now, the first match was thrown out because the 2 naughty schoolboys couldn't seem to sort it out and were both disqualified, meaning the return bout had to be a Falls Count Anywhere, so someone came out as a victor. But Bennett is still claiming that he's not been bested, as his shoulders were never pinned to the mat, but rather the ring steps at a Double Barrel Brewery. And we know Aries isn't going to turn this challenge down. He wouldn't have anyway, but I think he still feels he's got unfinished business with Bennett. And if you thought the previous 2 bouts are brutal, then really check this one out. Bennett has a point to prove. Aries has a belt to retain. Neither of them are going to let this one go easy. And Bennett basically dominates for the entire match. By my count, there were 10 pin attempts by Bennett, and it really looks as if we may have a new, if unwanted, champion at United. But if Aries has proved anything over the last couple of months, if not years, he is a man who is unbreakable. Even tested to his limit, he finds it from somewhere to roll up Bennett and take the win, which is a shock for the crowd, for him, and for Bennett. And what did we say about friendship? It looks as if we have another blossoming friendship here between the unlikely duo of Harrison Bennett and Chris Aries. They share a beer, they share the plaudits, and they share an embrace of mutual respect. Although victorious and exhausted in the ring, Aries still finds time to address the crowd. Echoing what I said earlier, he says, "I'm beginning to think that I am unbreakable, but there's one black mark on my record. I lost a match, my only singles defeat. Now time has passed, and Aries is sitting at the top of the tree, but the belt's not good enough at this stage. What he wants is that victory back. So he puts out a challenge, Mark Haskins at the Double Barrel Brewery. And that's exactly what we're getting at Trouble Brewing. If anyone was there last time, they'll know this was a masterclass from Haskins, and Aries was really the pupil on this occasion. But let's see if he's learned some new tricks that he can teach Haskins back. It's redemption time. By the way, I didn't really want to do this, but my records show there are a couple of defeats for Aries in singles combat at United before. Harry Bloody Sefton. And so that's it for the Summer on Tap, Waffling on Tap roundup. Still no appearance from Drain the Rawk, but at least we have blossoming friendships elsewhere. United Wrestling and Freyja Catch are now firm friends. Rex Armstrong and Harry Sefton, although we may not like having them back, are together again. This fella's still got no one on his side though. Both Josh Holly and myself made friends with that too, even as Tony Cole lost every friend he's ever had. Be careful if Freddie Idle approaches you, he's probably looking for a friend, but he will stab you in the back. The Dogs Bollocks were reunited popularly at the Tap, and...
Don't listen to the Wrestling Outsiders. Well, except for do listen to them on their podcast on YouTube because they're awesome.
I don't know how I feel about that. Anyway, if you've liked what you've heard, get down to United and watch some of that wrestling. If you've liked what you've heard from me, like and subscribe. Even if you haven't, like and subscribe anyway, because it's not as if people who subscribe actually like you, is it? This has been the last show of the second year of Waffling On. Join us in year 3 when hopefully I'll have both Claire and Dan back, although not in the shed, there's not enough room. Stay in the know with the WO.